Hello everyone, today we're going to take a look at Desync. And I'm just going to really hop into just beginning to cover this one because it's a little bit weird in a very good way. Also, difficult. So, Desync is a FPS RPG hybrid that will make you tear out your hair by the roots. Made by, I believe they're called the Foregone Syndicate, and published by Adult Swim Games, which is always a good sign. And welcome to your hub area. And if you're wondering, no, your monitor isn't broken. That's just how the game looks. Do not worry, in standard gameplay, you do not have the sort of visual glitching and the scan lines on the screen. It has actually got a cleaner looking graphic style and things like that once you're in an actual level. And in fact, I actually had to select an option to turn the some of the sort of interlacing and anaglyphic effects down because they were a little bit obnoxious for me. But that's a personal preference, and yeah. Anyway, we're gonna get into it. So, this is, as I mentioned, your hub area where you go in between missions. It is mission-based, and here you'll be able to change out your equipment and some other stuff like that, so I should explain how all this works. One of your options is a core, which is something that you can equip one of, precisely, and it will charge up during battle and allow you to use its ability, and it's just sort of a single-use thingy that you will have to charge up by mostly damaging things and not dying. And there are various ones. You start out with Restore, which is the one I had for a long time. It's a nice little heal, but I figured that this was kind of the crutch core, you know, the one that people, my favorite genre of music, by the way, crutch core, and this is the one that people are going to use for a long time, that you're going to have to move away from if you want to get better at the game, essentially, and I'm really bad at the game. So I wanted to move away from it because there are other ways to heal yourself, mainly overkilling enemies. And I wanted to move away from that and select something else as an impetus to get better at the game and not rely on this to heal me. So I decided to choose this one, Mutation, which is a sort of big knockback. I have no idea if it deals any damage to enemies because I haven't used it yet. Although it does, the usage cost, I'm assuming, is like the amount of sort of time and effect that it takes to charge up the meter. So I'm guessing with 1,000, that means it's going to take about twice as much to charge. And we'll talk about all this later. You've also got a sidearm, which is a very strange mechanic in the game. You would think it would be like, say, a left-handed weapon that you use, but it's not exactly like that. It's actually another meter that you have to charge up to doing these specific things called attack sequences. When you charge the meter up completely, it will appear somewhere in the arena you're currently fighting in. You then pick it up and can use it temporarily. So it's really a weird system, but it's actually very neat because they tend to be quite powerful. I'm using the Aegis right now, which is, of course, a shield, and it allows you to block enemy attacks. And I'm not sure what this is. I think it is the secondary fire for it, but you have to use the weapon or item a certain number of times to actually unlock it. And in this case, you had to block 20 attacks to actually unlock this. So I have 5 more to go before I'm able to see what this is. So that's why I haven't switched to the Cold Cross yet, which is a freeze bolt firing crossbow, which sounds awesome, but I want to see what this is when I unlock it, so I'm continuing to use the Aegis. And plus, being able to block enemy blows is useful because you die very fast in this game, by the way. Very fast. You also have this, which is the shard selection. This is how you customize your weapons. The weaponry in this game is quite varied and extremely interesting. And you can equip up to 4 of them at any given time, and there appear to be about 7, I believe. You have your infinite ammo Tristal, which is a sort of tri-beam firing pistol, as you may expect. And you've also got various other things, and they're all really freaking cool. And I haven't unlocked these 3 yet. But the shards are a method of actually upgrading the stats of the weapon. As you can see here, you have various stats. I don't know what degrade or speed does, to be honest with you. Damage and fire rate, very obvious. Degrade, not a freaking clue. Speed, I'm guessing maybe is projectile speed, because all of these actually fire physical projectiles. None of them are hit scan weapons, which is really cool. I'm guessing that's what that is, but I'm not sure. And degrade, I honestly couldn't tell you. Maybe it's like the ability to stun enemies after you hit them a certain amount of times, or a stagger effect, or some kind of shield takedown, or so. I have no idea what degrade is. It doesn't tell you. But we'll get onto the information that the game gives you a bit later. So you have various types of shards, one for each stat, and various tiers of shards. And after you beat a boss, you can get up to the next tier, which will affect these stats in a more extreme way. But these shards are usually good and bad. And they cost fragments, which you can find in the levels by just killing enemies and by finding them in kind of out-of-the-way places and things like that. So I'm actually going to generate a damage shard, a second tier one, which actually costs the same amount, interestingly enough. Boop. There we go. Oh, and it looks different. This will give me -2 to degrade, but +2 to damage. And then I can slot that in to any weapon that I want. Also, as you can see, I haven't quite unlocked the second tier fire rate shard. I need to dodge, it looks like 25 more attacks in order to unlock the ability to generate one of those. And then these are locked. I'll have to probably beat the second boss before I can unlock the third tier shards. And that's how it works. So let me slot that into, say, I could put it in, I could unlock the third slot in my Terra Blaster, which is a sweet shotgun, which I think I'll do. It's quite a slow firing weapon anyway, so it being able to just blast through dudes seems nice. So I'll spend 15 fragments to unlock the last slot in that, and then just plop it in there. There we go. Now, lots of damage, not very much degrade. Don't know what that does, so I don't even care. Alright, and then we have this, which is a very important thing, attack sequences. So, this game is mostly based, well, I say mostly, it is heavily based on the idea of doing these things called attack sequences, which if you've ever played Bulletstorm, are basically skill shots from that game. The idea of doing certain things and killing certain enemies in specific ways. So, Mercy is, you stagger an enemy and then headshot them to kill them. Let's see. Axed, there are swinging axes in the level, lead enemies into them to kill them. Ambidextrous, dual-wielding weapons, damage them with both of them to kill them. Things like that. There are killing enemies or damaging enemies and doing specific movements and things to kill or damage enemies in specific ways. Like I said, they are basically the skill shots from Bulletstorm, and there are lots of them, and they have different values. Lots of them. Now, there are also synchronizations, enemies with specific colored auras on them that appear, and these are kind of like special aura'd enemies in games like Diablo and other action RPGs. They're like a more tough variant of a normal enemy. They're not like a special enemy type on their own, but they have special characteristics. So the red sync are stronger. They hit you much harder, and they're a giant pain in the ass, by the way. The yellow, well, I almost said green for some reason. The yellow ones are velocity, so they move and attack a lot faster. There's also a blue one which can slow you down when you're near them, which are also awful, and there's more besides. And when they appear, they become like enemy number one, basically, because they are much stronger and you need to take them down. And one of the best and most heavy score rewarding ways to do that is to desync them. And to desync them, you need to use this terminal to set up a way to do so. The game doesn't really explain this very well, but again, I'm going to get into that later. And in order to desync something, you set up specific, specific ones of these attack sequences that you've unlocked, and you just find these out by doing them for the first time, and then it tells you what it's called and things like that, just like in Bulletstorm. And then you will just click on one and then put it in one of these slots. I haven't unlocked the other slots for these yet. That will imbue the ability to desync that specific kind of synchronized enemy by doing that sequence on them. So, for instance, I chose Energizer, which is to kill an enemy with the alt fire of the primary weapon, that pistol, and Aggressor, which is dashing towards an enemy and then killing them, so like getting right up in their face with a dash and then like shooting them usually with a shotgun, because it's very powerful. It's very good at that. And doing either of those on a red aura'd sync, a strength enemy, will desync them, which has various benefits. And then Velocity, I chose Evader, which is to dodge one of their attacks with the dash and then damage them in a very quick sort of counterattack sort of fashion. I chose that because, you know, Velocity enemies are really fast and they tend to be right up in your face and attacking you very quickly and very often, so dodging them and counterattacking often seemed like the best choice because that's gonna be happening all the time. Anyway. And you can customize with more and more desyncs on more and more types of enemies as you go through the game. Now this is where your level select is. That is the level select Sphere of Doom, and you also have a couple of other things that I haven't unlocked yet. And you've got this, your readout, which is a little hard to read sometimes because of the graphic style, unfortunately. It makes the colors, or well, the text glow kind of bleed a little bit and makes it difficult to see. You have this guidance system here, which is a bit of a tutorial system, but it's, one, a little hard to read, and two, it doesn't really explain everything for you, and some of the explanations aren't that great, unfortunately. It also tells you just about what you've been doing. How many times have I died? Probably like 800,000. Tells you a lot of things about, like, you know, what you've done, what you've discovered, all that kind of stuff. And it also has a leaderboard. And there's also these, which I have no idea what they are. Styles, which you're awarded with after you've completed a level, and I don't know what they affect. Because it says like shards none and things like that. What does attack simple, attacks intermediate, prioritize staggering? I get that. And, you know, I don't really know exactly what these mean. That's how, like, you played the level. I get that part, but otherwise I don't really understand the significance and what they're for. Now, let's actually play the game. So, you have a variety of levels here. You've got your standard level types, you then have bosses, which are really freaking hard, by the way, and you have your aberration levels, which are really cool. They are variants of the normal levels, done in a different way and with specific loadouts. They're almost like puzzle levels. They give you, instead of going equipped with whatever you actually have as a character and what you chose, they give you a specific set of equipment, and they have mutators. Every fight, it gives you another mutator that changes the way the game or you have to play. They're really cool, and I'd like to show you one at the end of the video. But for now, I'm just going to go, this is probably a mistake, I'm just going to go to the next level in line, which for me is Helix. And it tells you about the ranks, people that are way better than me, and we're just going to go into it. Boop. So, this is Desync. Now, this game is hard, like monstrously hard, sometimes infuriatingly so, but it is very, very rewarding. Because when you actually get through a battle, and when you're in the middle of a battle, it feels really good. So, as you can see, the scan lines have disappeared, and it actually has quite a clean and nice graphic style. And, by the way, the soundtrack to this game is phenomenal, as you would expect. And it gets louder as soon as a battle begins to let you realize that shit's about to go down. Alright, here we go. So, as the battles commence, you will be put in these sort of Painkiller-style arenas, or Serious Sam, and enemies will begin to spawn in waves, and you are expected to kill them without dying yourself. And you have your various weapons at your disposal, and as you can see, they have a limited amount of ammo, but the ammo isn't... Oh, wow, that hurt a lot. Isn't displayed numerically. It's displayed in a bar. This is going to be really hard to do while talking. I forgot about that. And the bars can have these little pips next to them, and those pips are reloads. Now, every weapon except for your primary pistol doesn't regenerate its ammo naturally. So you're going to have to deal with that. Oh god. So as you can see here, this weapon that I'm using right now in the second slot, this Tear Blaster, which is a shotgun with a shuriken, because, you know, shurikens are cool. It actually, it's not regenerating its ammo. If I hit R, it will consume one of those little pips next to it and restore about half of the bar. And the enemies, as they die, will drop different, those little things floating in the air. There are different bits of ammo for different weapons. But eventually you will run out. You will always at least have this because it regenerates slowly, but it doesn't always regenerate at a speed good enough to restore in the middle of battle. Now, if you try and use a weapon that doesn't have those pips ready, well, I mean, that has, rather, what I mean is that it doesn't have enough in its bar but has a pip ready, it will automatically consume one and restore the bar for you, so you don't have to hit R to reload, but you lose score for doing so. This game actually takes score away from you at just about every possible opportunity for using any sort of convenience. It's actually kind of amazing just how mean the game really is. Oh god, oh god, oh god, those things get on your face. They're face huggers, basically. And what will actually happen is you need to keep an eye on the ammo down there and try and make sure to always reload manually to restore your, oh, I got a B on that, not bad, to restore your ammo, if you can, because you will lose score at the end of the level, depending on how many times it did it for you, which is really mean. So, you saw a battle there. That was, you know, multiple waves of various enemies warping in, and me trying not to die desperately. You have a jump, you have a dash meter, as you can see down there, it's actually 2 meters for some reason, and you cannot combine them, unfortunately. You can't dash in midair, which I think is a missed opportunity, but hey, that's just me. Now before I move on, I'm going to reload this, and probably equip this. If you die, you have to start a battle from the very beginning. There are no checkpoints in the middle of battles. Ooh, that's a new enemy type. Let's kill it. And not only that, but some of the battles can go on for quite some time. Later battles in a level tend to go on for a while, which, yes, can be very frustrating. And this is what I mean by the game can be infuriatingly, I just wanted to see what that was like, difficult. Now you can see me doing some of these sequences. The names will pop up with a score as well. Like, aggressor would be this one right here. Oh, I hit the wrong one. That was avoidance, which is not a particular sequence, but... And these sequences are very, very important, if you can do them. And there are lots of them with different values. And as you can see, that little thing that says SDM with the shield symbol next to my weapon meter, that's my sidearm. And the only way to charge that up is by doing these sequences. And I'm assuming the sequence is worth more, charge it up faster. Sometimes it feels like it takes so long to charge up this sidearm that I only get it in like the very last part of the very last battle of a level, and I barely get to use it. And sometimes I'm doing so well that I get to use it like twice per battle, it feels like. And it feels a little, I don't know, difficult to use sometimes. Once you get it, basically it will appear somewhere in the arena and you have to go pick it up. You don't automatically get it. It's basically a power-up, essentially, which is an interesting way to do a sidearm in a game. Uh-oh. And, effectively... Oh god! Oh god! Yep, I'm screwed at this point. Yep, dead. Reconnect. And, what it basically boils down to is you'll need to find a way to maximize your ability to do these sequences reliably. And that puts this game at a very, very high skill ceiling. There are a lot of sequences to discover, a lot of them to do, a lot of ways to do them, lots of weapons to do them with, different combinations of different weapons are important, all while not being hit and or horrifically murdered. And it's actually really a challenge. The game is hard. The game is really hard. And it's also a lot of fun, though. But here is my problem. I really, really like this game. And I've been having a lot of fun learning it, and trying to get better at it, and, you know, bettering myself in the mechanics that are there. Yes. But the game does a bit of a poor job at explaining certain things to you. And by certain things, I mean almost everything. For instance, that desync mechanic, you know, like the flagship mechanic that the game is named after. There we go. The game does not explain to you at all. Not whatsoever. It barely even lets you know that it exists. It just sort of unlocks the terminal and is like, here you go, at some point. And, for instance, when you first encounter a synced enemy, it tells you that a synced enemy is on the way. And then there's like a, as you can see in that score tally in the left of the screen there, whenever you complete a battle, there's like a desync score. And it shows up as like 0 out of 2,000 because you could have technically desynced that enemy if you played the level later, but you haven't unlocked the ability to desync those enemies yet. So it feels like you're doing the level wrong because you're not doing what the game is named after correctly. That's actually how you get those enemies off of you, by the way. It's kind of cool. And basically the entire like idea behind the game is this incredibly high skill ceiling, very high skill floor, in fact, experience where you're meant to use everything that you know of, everything that you're equipped with, to provide yourself with like the most high speed, high octane, high skill experience you can. Alternate your attacks, come up with all these cool sequences, very high score experience, things like that. Yes, I just did the lightning gun combo from Unreal Tournament. But the game doesn't always give you enough information to do this. Because a lot of the mechanics are kind of obfuscated or not taught to you very well. If at all. Oh, a new sequence. Enemy staggered, weapon switch, enemy kill. Okay. And that unlocked the sidearm, only that was the end of the battle, which means I'm probably not going to be able to use it very much in the next battle, but I'll pick it up anyway in a second after I explore for shards. Now, this is a problem to me, because in a game that's so heavily based on the idea of thinking quickly, very high skill, you need to be aware of what you're capable of at any given time, right? You need to know all of the actions your character can possibly do at all times so that you can kind of understand what it is that you're able to do. And all the sequences that you can make, you need to understand the mechanics very well. In a game with a very high skill ceiling, clarity is key. That goes for any sort of game that's like this. Whoa. Oh, and there goes my shield. And the problem is, this game doesn't really give you much clarity in that regard. Most of the mechanics aren't explained. I figured that would be a sequence. Yeah. Oh god, there's another one. And that's kind of a problem. Like I said, I may sound like I'm being a bit hard on the game, but that's because I really, really enjoy it and think it's really great. But some of these problems are keeping it, to me, from being, like, extremely excellent. Because of how some of the mechanics are presented are kind of antithetical to how the game is designed in the first place. And the ideas behind, say, desyncing enemies, that could be fixed. Like, the idea that you're feeling like you're playing the game wrong, partially, could be fixed simply by adding a little addendum to that pop-up in the beginning that explains to you, hey, a synced enemy is coming in, this is what a synced enemy is. Because that pop-up already happens. It could also say at the end of it, later on, you'll be able to unlock the ability to desynchronize these enemies for these, like, for bonus effects or something like that. Letting you know that it's not something that you can do yet, but it's an important mechanic later. But it doesn't say that, and it would be really nice if it did, so that you didn't feel like you were missing something. Because that's actually one of the most infuriating parts of the game, is the idea that you're missing something. When a game is this incredibly difficult, the idea of dying repeatedly and simply feeling like, oh, you're missing something. Kill that guy with this so I can get some health. Come on. Yes. Is annoying. You don't want to feel like you're missing something. You want to feel like you have all of the mechanics at your disposal and you died because it was your fault because you're not taking advantage of them properly and you just need to get better. You don't want to feel like you died because you're not fully understanding everything because it wasn't explained properly and that there's a bunch that you're not getting. You know? That's an annoying feeling. And that's sometimes the feeling that the game gives me, unfortunately. I die in early fights, and the game... Oh god, I hate these guys. The game does not go easy on you, by the way. Like, not in the least. Ugh, I hate those teleporting guys. The second level throws you into some very challenging fights. The game does not have, like, a series of levels to teach you mechanics or to, like, let you learn them on your own. Even as early as the second level, the game is just incredibly difficult. It throws you right in. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that if these, like, key mechanics were taught a bit better. Oh, that's lava. So, as enjoyable as the game is, and as much as I've learned from playing it, I feel like some of these things I shouldn't have had to learn so painfully over the course of several dozen retries from one single infuriatingly difficult fight. I feel like that's a far too annoying way of learning those things when they could have simply been just told to me better, you know? And the idea, like those shards, for instance, I mentioned that I don't know what degrade or speed do for a weapon. That's kind of obnoxious because in a game like this, making those kinds of decisions intelligently is very, very important. I need to know what I'm putting on my weapon and how valuable it is, especially because those shards are kind of a limited resource that I'm spending. So, if I can't make like an informed decision because I don't know what all those stats mean, that's a bit of a problem. And I would really like to know. And I also don't know what those pips mean. Is 1 pip of extra damage worth 1 pip of minus fire rate? Like, how much is that exactly? How much damage is that doing? How much fire rate is that missing? I don't know. This information is obfuscated from me. It's not given to me in a satisfying or clear way. And in a game that is this hard, that clarity is super important. So that's really my only problem with the game, is just that a lot of the nitty-gritty, the RPG mechanics, the information isn't presented to you very well, if at all, oftentimes, which is frustrating. Because it takes the difficulty of the game from being incredibly hard but skillful and I want to learn more, to, oh my god, what am I doing wrong? I can't figure this out, please help. Which is not a good change, really, for me. And it, you know, I have still enjoyed my time with it a lot, and I will continue playing it because it's a lot of fun, and I think it's an incredibly well-made game. It's just that it's taken me a long time to get to that point, and I feel like the process of doing that learning should have been significantly less painful than it was. And there's still a lot that I don't understand that I feel like by now I really should understand in order to play the game properly. So I just wanted to point that out in such excruciating detail because I feel the game is super, super good and very unique. It is this, like, high-skill example of a, I suppose, like, arena shooter done in, I desynced them in a very different way that I heavily appreciate. Yes. And see, like, that was really, really satisfying. Doing all these battles like this is super enjoyable, and I'm not complaining that it's too hard, because I'm just not good enough, and I know that. I'm just complaining that the difficulty could be not reduced, but more balanced by explaining the mechanics that you need to be better at the game a little better. And once again, I have the Aegis at the end of a battle and not when I actually need it, because I need to be doing those sequences a little more often. Anyway, ooh, Toxburst sidearm. I bet that poisons dudes. That could be cool. Another really good merit to the game is the enemy variety is awesome. There are lots and lots and lots of enemies. There's also a lot of ways to kill them, very satisfyingly. And uh-oh. Oh no, they disappeared before I got them. Shoot. Ah. And discovering new sequences and new and creative ways to kill things is always enjoyable in pretty much any game, and this one is no different, with the incredibly varied enemy types and the really creative weapons that are just plain fun to use and combine in weird ways with each other. Like, I can knock dudes into the air with this, and then like switch to this and shuriken them in midair, and that's actually a sequence. That's a specific sequence, I've just never pulled it off yet. Oh god! Okay, they don't stagger very easily, gotcha. And learning all the new tricks to the various new enemy types and things like that is a huge and important part of the game. There we go. And something I very much enjoy. Ah, crap. I will say that you can die very quickly, partially because you just can't take very much damage, but also because there's no invincibility frames when you get hit, and you can just get hit like multiple times in an incredibly short time frame and just eat shit, like, in half a second, which is very harsh. But, you know, that's just how it is. So this is Desync, and incredibly unique and quite beautiful example of the blindingly difficult but very rewarding high skill type of shooter, oh god, that I think a lot of people are actually looking for nowadays, and I would highly recommend it. And with the extreme amount of content that's on offer here, you would be kind of crazy to not get it for the price they're asking, which is a measly $15. That's it. 15 bucks and you get all of this, and I think it will last you, for quite some time. These guys have like crazy wave tonfa things. I'm not a fan, although I do want some for myself. And it's a lot of fun. You can replay levels, you can do the aberrant level variants, you can really do all sorts of things, and have a lot of sort of enjoyable value out of this, I feel. And I would recommend not being as bad as me. I would recommend doing so because that price is a steal for this. So yeah, despite the problems I was talking about, like I said, I was only really talking about those because I feel quite strongly about really enjoying a game that's this unique and well made, and I feel like it just could be that bit better that would help a lot of the problems I have with it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like it, and I'm in need of more subscribers, so if you want to, you know, do that, go ahead, do it. It'll make me better at this. No, it won't. But if you want to do that, then feel free to. If you don't, that's fine. And if you did not like this video, then there's a dislike button there as well. Thank you an incredible amount for watching. Oh god. Oh, holy crap, he just exploded. And I'll see you next time. Oh my god. Okay. Come on. Come on. Give me your health. Blowing myself up just to get health is probably one of the dumber things I've ever done. Although not entirely unwarranted. Alright. I'm gonna get this.